The convoy halted because the beggar did not bow. Traffic froze as armed men leapt out shouting. But she remained still, eyes lifted calm. The billionaire watched through tinted glass, irritated by the silent stretching. People always begged. People always thanked. This woman simply stared, as if measuring him, as if she owned the road and had allowed him to pass once before. He stepped out. Cameras lifted. Whispers rippled. He offered a crisp note, expression bored, prepared to move on. She didn't reach for it. She didn't flinch. "Keep it," she said softly. Laughter broke out. His jaw tightened. Refusal was new. Disrespect tasted metallic. He asked her name. She asked for his, evenly, like an equal. His guards bristled. The crowd pressed closer. A horn blared. He felt heat climb his neck. "Take the money," he said, lowering his voice. She shook her head, the motion decisive. "I don't take bloodstained gifts." The words landed like a slap. Murmurs surged. He smiled thinly, hiding the sting. "Careful," he warned. "You don't know who I am." She smiled back, a small, knowing curve. "You're the man who bought silence on 4th Street, she said. "The man who signs charities with one hand and erases families with the other." His breath caught. No one here should know that. The camera zoomed. His world narrowed to her face, dust smudged yet composed, eyes steady. Security moved. He raised a hand. The crowd hushed, hungry. "You're mistaken," he said, forcing calm. She leaned closer, voice meant only for him. "Mistakes don't keep ledgers," she whispered. "Yours does." She tapped her temple, once. His pulse thudded. A bead of sweat slid under his collar. He laughed too loudly and waved the cameras away, promising donations, promising apologies. He turned to leave, then stopped. Something tugged, unwelcome and sharp. "What do you want?" he asked softly. She studied him, pity flickering. "Not your money," she said. "Your attention." He nodded, against sense, and slipped the note back into his pocket. The convoy crept forward. As he re-entered the car, he looked back. She was already seated again, posture relaxed, as if the encounter had been a scheduled interruption. His phone buzzed with alerts, his name trending. He ignored them. Inside the tinted quiet, unease bloomed. He replayed her words, the precision, the confidence. Beggars didn't speak like that. Beggars didn't refuse. He told himself it was a trick, a lucky guess. Yet the ledger detail gnawed. He ordered his driver to circle the block. When they returned, the spot was empty. No woman. No bowl. Just a faint scuff on the pavement, like a signature erased. The billionaire stared at the absence, chest tight, curiosity burning hotter than anger. For the first time in years, he wanted something he couldn't buy, and didn't understand. Somewhere nearby, unseen eyes watched him doubt himself, marking the first crack in an armor polished by wealth, power, and carefully curated myths he believed unbreakable tonight, on this ordinary, unforgiving street. He returned at dawn, before pride could wake. The street smelled of rain and exhaust, vendors arranging hope in plastic bowls. He searched the pavement for the scuff, absurdly certain it would still be there, proof she existed. It wasn't. The absence mocked him. He told himself he came to correct a narrative, to protect a brand already bruised by whispers. His men fanned out, discreet, questions wrapped in cash. No one had seen her. Or everyone had, depending on the price. He stood by the curb, suit immaculate, pulse restless. A woman selling oranges stared at him too long. "She won't be found," the woman said. He bristled. "Why?" She shrugged. "Because she chooses when to be seen." He ordered coffee from a kiosk he'd never noticed before. The vendor's hands shook. The billionaire watched steam rise and felt ridiculous. He checked his phone, alerts multiplying, headlines sharpening. The refusal had gone viral. Analysts speculated motives. Enemies circled. He needed control. At noon, she appeared, as if summoned by irritation. Same clothes, cleaner now. Same eyes. He felt the street tilt. "You came back," she said, unsurprised. He masked relief with cool authority. "You disappeared," he replied. "I don't chase phantoms." She laughed, quiet. "You chase mirrors." She sat without invitation, spreading a cloth, arranging coins with deliberate slowness. He crouched, lowering himself to her level. Cameras sniffed the air. "You said you wanted my attention," he said. "You have it. Speak." She looked past him. "You brought witnesses," she said. "I didn't invite them." He gestured, and the street thinned. The space between them hummed. "What do you want?" he asked again. "Truth," she said. "From you." He stiffened. "About?" She met his gaze. "Why you're afraid." The question pierced. He straightened. "I'm not." She nodded, unconvinced. "Then say your name," she said. "Not the one on buildings. The one your mother used when you cried." His throat closed. He offered a decoy, instead, a lie smooth as silk. She smiled like a teacher indulgent with a child. "You're learning," she said. Poorly. He felt heat, then something worse, interest. "Meet me tonight," he said, reckless. "Dinner. Neutral ground." She considered, counting coins that didn't matter. "I don't eat charity," she said. "Then don't," he replied. "Set terms." She stood, close enough that he smelled soap beneath dust. "Fine," she said. "No names. No guards. No cameras." She leaned in. "And you'll come alone." He hesitated a fraction too long. She turned away. "If you don't," she added, "I'll tell them what you erased." She vanished into movement, leaving him exposed. He watched the crowd swallow her, chest tight, a decision burning. Control demanded retreat. Curiosity demanded surrender. He texted his security chief one word, "Standby," then deleted it, choosing uncertainty like a dare he couldn't refuse. Around him, the city breathed, indifferent. He realized the chase had inverted. He was now the spectacle, baited by a stranger who knew his shadows, and smiled while tightening the line. Beneath public daylight. Tonight. He arrived early, alone, jacket folded over his arm like a concession. The restaurant was discreet, the kind power used when it didn't want applause. Candles trembled. He chose a table in the open, honoring the terms, feeling naked, without men and radios. Every face looked like a lens. She came late. Not fashionably, deliberately. Same plain dress, cleaner again, hair wrapped neatly. The host hesitated. She didn't. She walked straight to him and sat unasked. "You picked safety," she said, glancing around. "Crowds are cowards." He forced a smile. "I picked conversation." Menus arrived. She pushed hers away. "Order," she said. He did modestly, then watched her eyes flick to the wine list. "The Barolo," she said. "From the deep cellar." He blinked. That bottle cost more than the room. He nodded anyway. The sommelier's eyebrow rose. She didn't notice. When the wine came, she tasted, approving. He studied her hands, clean nails, steady grip. "You know luxury," he said lightly. "Everyone knows hunger," she replied. "Luxury just teaches patience." The answer unsettled him. He leaned forward. "You said you wanted truth." "I do," she said. "Why do you give money in public?" He shrugged. "Visibility multiplies impact." She shook her head. "Visibility multiplies control." She sipped. "You buy gratitude, so no one asks questions." His jaw tightened. "And you," he countered. "You perform poverty." She smiled then. "I perform invisibility." The food arrived. She ate slowly, like someone used to being watched. He noticed how she cut the fish, precise, practiced. "You asked me to come alone," he said. "Why?" She met his gaze. "Because men lie better when they feel superior." A laugh escaped him, surprised. "And do I?" he asked. She considered. "Less than yesterday." Her phone buzzed. She ignored it. His buzz too? Alerts, warnings. He silenced it. The room felt smaller. "Tell me something true," she said. He hesitated, then spoke of a deal he regretted, a factory closed too fast, a town hollowed. Not the worst. Enough to sound human. She listened, expression unreadable. "That's a start," she said. "But it's still a story you've rehearsed." She reached into her bag and placed a coin between them. Old. Heavy. "Do you know what this is?" she asked. He shook his head. "It's a marker," she said. "For debts that mature." She stood. Tonight was an audition. He rose, alarmed. "For what?" She leaned close. For access. She turned away, then paused. Pay the bill, she added softly. And don't follow. He watched her leave, heart racing. The sommelier hovered, stunned by the untouched wine. He paid without looking, fingers brushing the coin. It was warm. Outside, night pressed in. He felt watched, weighed, and strangely chosen, as if dinner had cost him more than money and bought him nothing he could yet name. Somewhere beyond the glass, engines idled, secrets shifted, and a woman who begged by day recalculated the pace, wondering how long desire would survive before truth demanded its price from both of them tonight. She hated billionaires, she said, like a curse spoken plain. He learned this at breakfast, because she chose the cheapest cafe and the hardest truth. Steam fogged the windows, clattering cups masked eavesdroppers, and she stirred sugar she didn't need. Men like you, she said, build towers on broken backs. He flinched, then smiled, the practiced curve. Generalizations are lazy, he replied. So is forgiveness, she said, without heat. The waiter knew him. She didn't care. He kept his head down, cap pulled low, thrill and fear braided tight. Why meet me again, he asked. Because you lie differently when you're uncomfortable, she said. And you? I don't, she said. I arrange truths. She told him a story about a father who trusted contracts and lost a home. About a mother who learned silence paid better than screams. About a girl who slept beside roads and counted headlights like promises. His chest tightened. He wanted to interrupt, to rescue the ending. She didn't let him. This is why I hate billionaires, she said. Not for wealth, for distance. He wanted to confess then, to strip the mask and kneel in honesty. Instead, he hid his name and ordered another coffee. A lie layered over want. Outside, a man pointed, recognition blooming. She followed his gaze and sighed. Your world leaks, she said. Mine survives leaks. She stood to leave. He reached out, stopped himself. If you hate me, he said, why keep coming? She paused. Because hate clarifies, she said. And because you might be different. Hope sparked, dangerous. He took it anyway. A black SUV rolled past. She stiffened. Who is that, he asked. Someone checking on a rumor, she said lightly. He frowned. What rumor? That you're not who you claim. She leaned close, breath steady. If you tell me the truth, she said, I'll stop. Stop what? She smiled, sad. Testing how far you'll fall. She left without paying. He paid twice. When he stepped outside, his phone rang with a warning. Board meeting moved. Hostile bid confirmed. He looked up, searching the street. She was gone. In his pocket, the old coin burned. He realized she wasn't hunting money. She was hunting weakness. And he had just shown her where to aim. He felt the city tilt against him. Alliances whispering. Numbers shifting unseen. Every step back to the car stretched. His reflection fractured in glass. He told himself he could quit, disclose, end the test. Instead, he dialed a fixer and canceled nothing. Control soothed him briefly. Yet her voice lingered, sharpening memory into ache. He imagined her watching reports, timing his reactions, charting tells. Desire curdled into resolve. If she hunted weakness, he would bait strength. Tomorrow he would lie better, listen harder, and learn the cost. Above the street, clouds gathered, promising rain that never washed anything clean. He wondered who would break first, the mask or the man, knowing both had begun to crack the moment she named distance as sin without mercy tonight. The fiancé arrived like a storm in silk, tires hissing water onto the curb. Cameras loved her, drivers feared her. She stepped out, eyes sharp, smile rehearsed, and saw the beggar seated where attention pooled. The splash at first, cold and deliberate. Laughter followed. The billionaire felt it land in his chest like a verdict. Watch where you park, the beggar said calmly, wiping her arm. No flinch. No plea. The fiancé's smile thinned. You should be grateful, she replied, scanning the dress, the bowl. Men like him don't stop for people like you. She reached for her phone. The street leaned in. He moved before thinking, hand lifted, voice firm. Enough. Silence snapped. He offered his jacket. The beggar declined, gentle. I'm fine, she said, eyes never leaving the fiancé. Are you? The question stung sharper than insult. The fiancé laughed brittle. Do you know who I am? I know what you're doing, the beggar said. And why? A pause. Fear performs best in public. The fiancé's eyes flicked to him, wounded. Is this a joke? She asked him. He shook his head, heart pounding. It's over, he said, meaning the moment, maybe more. The crowd murmured. The fiancé's cheeks flushed. You choose this, she hissed. A problem. He chose honesty for once. I choose decency. The word fell heavy. She turned, humiliated, heels clicking retreat. The cameras drank it in. Damage done. He exhaled, then turned to the beggar, expecting anger, triumph, something. She bowed her head, slightly. You didn't have to, she said. I wanted to, he replied. That's the problem, she murmured. Wanting clouds judgment. Sirens wailed distantly. He touched his phone, unread messages stacking like threats. Come, he said. At least dry off. She hesitated, then nodded. They walked a block, speaking of nothing. In a quiet doorway, she stopped. This is where I get off. He reached into his pocket, pulled cash. She closed his fingers over it. No, she said. Not today. He swallowed. Then let me help. She smiled softer now. You already did, she said, and surprised him by apologizing. I didn't defend myself, she added. I needed to see what you do. And, he asked. She studied him like a ledger nearing balance. You failed less than expected, she said. That counts. She stepped back. But understand this, she continued. What you cost yourself today will be collected. She vanished into rain. He stood alone, jacket damp in his hands, reputation bleeding quietly online. In a tinted car across the street, someone lowered binoculars and typed a message. Test confirmed. Target compromised. He felt the city close ranks, allies recalculating. Love had drawn first blood, and he wasn't sure whose. He offered rescue like a confession, too quickly, in a voice that tried to sound casual. You can't stay out there, he said, rain threading his hair, resolve brittle. I have a place. Temporary. He framed it as safety. He meant possession. She watched him wrestle with the word help and let him lose. I don't belong in cages, she said. It's not a cage, he replied. Then don't lock the door, she said, already winning. The apartment was anonymous luxury, neutral art, silent elevators. Views designed to impress no one. He left towels folded, food stocked, rules unspoken. She walked the rooms, barefoot, counting exits with her eyes. You live like a ghost, she said. Everything looks unused. He bristled. I'm careful. She nodded. So am I. He tried not to watch her settle in, to pretend this wasn't reckless. She showered, steam curling secrets into the ceiling. When she emerged, hair loose, dressed the same, something in him tipped. I'll pay rent, she said, pulling an envelope from her bag. He laughed, startled. You don't have to. She placed it on the counter. Thick. Cash. Neatly banded. He stared. Where did you get this? She met his gaze. From not trusting banks. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Night pressed in. He tried to leave. She stopped him at the door. No guards, she reminded. He nodded, unsettled, and went. Alone in the quiet, she counted breaths, then made a call. Phase 2, she said. He offered shelter. A pause. Yes. He thinks it's mercy. Days blurred. She cooked simply, cleaned meticulously, slept lightly. He visited too often, inventing errands. They spoke of weather, music, the city's lies. Once she cried in the bathroom, muffled, and he pretended not to hear. The sound carved him anyway. When he mentioned it, she smiled and said allergies. He hated himself for believing. On the fourth night, she placed another envelope on the counter. Advance, she said. I don't know. He reached for it, then stopped. You don't need to perform independence, he said. She leaned close. You don't need to perform savior. His phone buzzed, board pressure. The fiancé's lawyers, rumors metastasizing. He silenced it. Stay, he said, vulnerable. She considered, then nodded once. For now. After he left, she opened a different phone, fingerprinted, secure. She transferred funds, rent, utilities, a surplus, clean trails. She reviewed photos, his jacket offered, his hand raised, his hesitation measured in frames. She deleted none. At dawn, she stood by the window, city pale, and wondered how long desire could survive proximity before truth detonated. In the hall, a camera blinked, disabled. She smiled not unkindly and whispered to the empty room, "Let's see what you're really made of," knowing the test had moved indoors, where consequences echoed louder. They almost crossed the line because silence grew teeth. He stood too close in the kitchen, late, city asleep, rain ticking a glass. She reached for a cup. His hand brushed hers. Electricity flared, unwanted and undeniable. He apologized. She didn't move away. "Say it," she said. "Say what you want." He swallowed. "I want to stop lying," he said, choosing a safer truth. She searched his face. "Then don't," she replied. The simplicity hurt. He leaned in, then halted, guilt rising like a wall. "I can't," he said. "Not yet." Her mouth curved, not cruel. Honesty always has a timing excuse. They sat on opposite stools, knees nearly touching. He told a story about a childhood room with peeling paint and a mother who hummed when money ran out. Not the name, not the empire. Enough to sound brave. She listened, chin propped, eyes softening despite herself. "Promise me something," she said quietly. "No lies between us." He nodded too fast. The nod was a lie. She rested her head on his shoulder, briefly, like testing a surface. His breath hitched. The closeness cracked him. He almost confessed everything: name, sins, engagement, leverage. Instead, he kissed her hair and said nothing. When she pulled back, disappointment flickered, sharp. "You're afraid of losing control," she said. "I'm afraid of losing you," he answered. The word surprised them both. She stood, stepped away. "Then we're both afraid," she said. "That makes this dangerous." He reached out. She stopped him with a look. "If you lie to me," she continued, "I won't forgive it." He agreed, silently breaking the promise again. After he left, she locked the door and exhaled, hands trembling. Desire had arrived uninvited. Complicating math she preferred clean. She opened her secure phone. "I'm compromised," she said. "Emotionally." A pause. "Yes, I know the risks." Another pause. "No, I won't stop." The next morning, he brought flowers, awkward, hopeful. She laughed at the extravagance, kept one stem, discarded the rest. "Waste is a habit," she teased. He smiled, relieved. They cooked eggs. He watched her move with efficient grace, wondered who taught her. She watched him watch, cataloging tells. News broke mid-bite. His company, under investigation, whistleblower anonymous. His fork froze. She studied his face. "Is that you?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "No," he said truthfully, and not. She nodded, accepting, filing it away. "Someone wants you scared," she said. "You should be." That night, she dreamed of roads and towers collapsing into hands that reached too late. He dreamed of names spoken aloud, consequences blooming. In the thin hours, both woke and stared at ceilings, measuring how love could grow from a lie and whether it deserved to survive. Somewhere between rooms, a truth waited, patient, sharpening itself for the cut. She recognized him before he recognized her again, at the corner where memory waited patiently. His laugh triggered it, sharp as glass. Years folded. She tasted dust and signatures. He sensed the shift, smiled uncertainly, unaware history had stood up beside him, breathing quietly in the present moment, watching silently. She sat across from him, hands wrapped around coffee she didn't need. He talked markets, distractions, weather. She heard the echo of a boardroom long gone. "We've met," she said. He laughed, denied, eyes sliding. Lies had always sounded like that before, during crisis, quietly rehearsed, excuses learned early on. The past cracked open. A project he killed. A name he forgot. A family relocated into shadows. She didn't accuse. She observed. "Do you remember the river deal?" she asked. He frowned, searching. She watched guilt reach for language and miss while fear tightened his shoulders, pulse ticking loudly inside. He excused himself, took a call that wasn't real. She followed with her eyes, calculating damage. Recognition unsettled him, made him sloppy. She sipped calm. When he returned, she said, "You erase people efficiently." He stiffened. The cafe seemed suddenly too exposed for secrets stretching backward, bleeding forward relentlessly now. "Why tell me this?" he asked. She leaned back. "Because accidents don't repeat," she said. "Patterns do." He tried charm. It bounced off. She saw the man beneath money, panicking quietly. Compassion tugged, unwanted. Revenge required clarity, not mercy. She held her ground despite warmth flickering briefly, dangerously, inside her. A black sedan passed. She clocked it. He didn't. "Someone watching you?" he joked. She smiled thinly. "Always." He misread confidence as fearlessness. She paid the bill again. "We're uneven," she said. "That's why this works." He nodded, confused, intrigued, unaware imbalance was intentional, measured, and already reshaping his future. Outside, he touched her arm. She allowed it briefly. "Tell me who you are," he said. She shook her head. "Not yet." A siren wailed. Memory pressed closer. She remembered eviction notices, nights counting breaths. She remembered promising never to beg again. This wasn't begging. It was positioning, patience, leverage. That night, she accessed files he couldn't imagine, faces resurfacing like ghosts. She matched dates, payments, signatures. The river deal linked everything. He'd been junior then, obedient. She closed the laptop, pull steady. Tomorrow she would confront him gently, sharpen truth wrapped in kindness, to watch conscience wrestle survival instinct. He dreamed of rivers, swallowing contracts, of hands reaching from water. He woke sweating, name on his tongue. Morning brought resolve. He would tell her everything. Love demanded it. Across the city, she smiled at the same thought, for opposite reasons, already planning consequences that would redraw power, pain, futures. When they met again, smiles returned, practiced. She listened, nodding, letting him approach confession. Timing mattered. Truth delivered 2 early break stories. She needed him open, unarmored. As he spoke, she counted heartbeats, knowing the past had finally caught his present, and mercy remained undecided while love waited. Sharp, dangerous. "I woke to absence," he said later, because the apartment held her shape but not her breath. Sheets cool, door unlocked, envelopes untouched, plants watered, trash emptied. Silence deliberate. A goodbye, without words, leaving him pacing rooms, checking clocks, calling names he still wouldn't say aloud tonight again in disbelief. He searched the street first, frantic and bareheaded, asking vendors, guards, drivers, anyone, promising nothing and everything, watching hope flicker and die with each shrug, until panic sharpened into resolve, and he ordered planes, phones, favors, maps, burning money for answers before dawn, loudly praying without faith, control, mercy returned. By noon the city hummed with rumor. His name paired with disappearance, lovers' quarrel, scandal bait, while investigators circled politely. And he replayed every look, every pause, every lie, realizing love had finally cost leverage. And leverage had fled wearing her calm smile into the crowd, unseen, undefeated, deliberate, patient. He flew at dusk, chasing a ping she wanted found, heart hammering as a private airport emerged, lights cutting fog, and there she stood, composed, greeting men who deferred, her presence folding power toward her like metal filings. Rewriting gravity he trusted all his life, suddenly, brutally, undeniably, reversed tonight. He stopped, stunned, as she turned, eyes steady, not apologizing, not explaining, and said softly that she had hoped he would come, because choices reveal truth, and truth arrives when fear outruns comfort, leaving nowhere safe to hide from the past, present, or consequences you delayed too long before now. Inside a glass lounge, she spoke of beginnings, of roads and numbers, of companies inherited quietly, of disguises worn to measure hearts, while he listened hollowed, ashamed, relieved, discovering the beggar was never poor, only patient, and he the experiment designed carefully, ethically, cruelly, to expose character, limits, desire, truth. He protested, swore affection was real, offered everything again, but she shook her head. saying money wasn't currency here, accountability was, and love without honesty rots, no matter how beautifully funded. Leaving wreckage prettier than justice allows, or the victims you forget, forgive, dismiss, silence, bury, rename, profit from, endlessly. She handed him a file and a choice, vanish quietly or face daylight, promising neither mercy nor cruelty, only consequences, while engines warmed and witnesses waited. And he realized disappearance had been planned, just not his. Tonight, though, it felt like extinction, rebirth, reckoning, all together, at once, now here. As planes roared, she kissed his cheek, thanked him for failing kindly, and walked toward wealth unveiled, leaving him smaller yet clearer, knowing love had been real, but truth would decide whether it survived the fall ahead, where gravity returns, names surface, debts mature, promises tested, publicly, painfully, soon enough. Alone on the tarmac, file heavy, future loud, he chose to open it, finally. As sirens stitched the night, understanding the chase had ended, judgment begun, and the unanswered question now belonged to him, alone without her. Without lies, without shields, awaiting daylight, consequence, choice, love, ruin, truth, mercy, justice. Morning broke like a courtroom light, unforgiving and bright. He stood before cameras he once owned, statement trembling between apology and strategy, knowing either could damn him. She watched from a distance, face unreadable, power settling comfortably on her shoulders at last. He spoke names. He named the river deal, the layoffs, the shell charities, the silence bought and sold. Each admission peeled armor away, leaving a man shaped by choice, not fate. Analysts gasped. Enemies smiled. Allies fled. She listened unmoved, because truth without repair is still harm. Inside he collapsed into a chair, hands shaking, file emptied into public air. She entered then, alone, heels soft, presence decisive. You chose daylight, she said. That matters. He nodded, hoarse. I chose you. She didn't soften. You chose consequence. He begged once, simply, without leverage. She felt the tug, dangerous and human. I loved you, he said. I do. She believed him. Belief didn't equal absolution. Love doesn't erase impact, she replied. It demands responsibility. Phones rang. Arrests began. He signed cooperation papers, surrendered access, dismantled defenses he'd built for years. Watching, she felt grief for what might have been if truth had arrived sooner. Timing, again, was the blade. Outside, shareholders screamed. Inside, she offered terms, restitution funds overseen independently, public timelines, names restored. He agreed to all, grateful for direction. Why help me, he asked. She answered honestly. Because repair is louder than punishment. Night fell. Headlines hardened. She prepared to leave. Wealth now visible, disguise discarded. He stopped her. What are we? He asked. She considered. A lesson, she said. And a possibility. He reached for her hand. She let him, briefly. If we try, he said, it must be clean. She nodded. Clean is slow, she warned. And painful. He accepted. I'll endure. At the door, she paused. Episode 10 ends without forgiveness, she said softly, a smile ghosting. Only truth. He watched her go, knowing love now required patience, without guarantees. Alone, he faced the mirror, stripped of myth, uncertain, alive. For the first time, he didn't ask what it would cost. He asked who it would heal, and whether that answer could include them both, someday, after the reckoning finished its work. Outside the building, protesters argued, victims waited, and rain stitched the city together again. She walked through it untouched, thinking of roads and tests, of love measured by acts, not hunger. He remained inside, choosing cooperation over control, preparing testimony, rehearsing remorse without theater. Tomorrow would bring courtrooms, clawing headlines, and allies turned witnesses. Tonight offered only quiet resolve. The story wasn't finished, it was narrowing. Consequence would keep score. Mercy would arrive, or not, on time chosen by truth alone. It would test whether repair could outpace ruin, whether patience could rebuild trust, and whether two people, stripped of disguises, might meet again without games, debts paid forward, eyes open, choosing accountability first, love second, if at all, When history stops shouting and listening finally becomes the bravest act possible, then trial season stripped the city raw, every channel chewing his name. He slept little, testified much, learned the weight of verbs like knew, approved, ignored. She attended quietly, never beside him, never absent. A constant question mark dressed in certainty. On the third day, she took the stand. Gasps rippled. She spoke of harm without spectacle, of metrics that hid people, of nights by roads where promises tasted like rust. She did not say love. She said accountability, and the room leaned forward. He watched, heart bruised. Her words cut him free from excuses. When counsel tried to paint her as manipulator, she smiled, unafraid. Tests reveal, she said. They don't create. The judge nodded. The lie collapsed. After court, rain pinned them under an awning. Silence thickened. I didn't plan to love you, she said. He answered honestly. I didn't plan to change. They shared a look heavy with almosts. That night, evidence leaked, old emails, his signature, uglier than he confessed. The plea wavered. Prison loomed. He called her, voice steady despite fear. I'll accept it, he said. No bargaining. She closed her eyes. That matters, she replied. But it won't save you. She met him in a holding room, glass between. I still plan to release everything, she said. Even what helps you. He nodded. Do it. She searched his face for cracks. Found none. Love stirred, unwanted. If I stop, she whispered, it will be because I choose you. He shook his head. Choose justice. The prosecutor offered a deal. Reduced time for cooperation deeper than bone. He signed without calling her. When she heard, anger flared, then relief. Autonomy remained intact. Sentencing day arrived. He stood thinner, clearer. The judge spoke balance. Years announced. Gasps again. He didn't look back until the end, when he found her eyes. She nodded once, respect heavy as grief. Outside, reporters swarmed. She spoke briefly. Repair continues, she said. Regardless of romance. She turned away as cuffs clicked. He smiled, small, grateful. Later, she visited the river, now healing under new stewardship. She dropped the old coin, watched it sink. Love hadn't erased consequence. Consequence hadn't erased love. The choice ahead sharpened. Wait or walk free forever. In a cell, he wrote letters he couldn't send, learning patience as penance. Episode 11 closed without reunion, only courage in opposite directions, and a question neither could answer yet. She returned home, wealth humming quietly, advisors waiting. She dismissed them, choosing solitude, replaying moments she'd nearly forgiven him. Mercy tempted, dangerous. Justice steadied her. She marked calendars, funded repairs, visited families, listened without defense. Somewhere he learned routine, clocks, humility, counting days not deals. Letters crossed oceans unsent. The future stayed unresolved by design. Love required time. Time required truth. Truth required patience. Episode 11 refused comfort, insisting growth happen off-screen, slow, accountable, until choice could be made freely, without disguises, applause, or fear. Both walked forward separately, aware reunion might arrive later, earned carefully or never, without resentment or regret lingering. Release day arrived without ceremony. No cameras, no speeches, only a gate opening and closing behind him. Years compressed into a single breath. She waited across the street, not approaching, allowing distance to speak first. They walked, not together, toward a small cafe rebuilt with restitution funds. He ordered coffee, paid, sat. She joined him. Silence worked harder than dialogue. I kept my promises, he said. I know, she replied. So did I. She told him what repair had done. Factories reopened differently, names restored, oversight installed, pain acknowledged aloud. He listened, resisting defense. Learning listening was the work now. And us, he asked. She smiled faintly. We start where lies can't survive. He offered no vows, only presence. She tested nothing, having tested enough. Outside, rain softened the city. I loved the beggar, he said. She was real, she answered. Power was a costume. He nodded, understanding finally. They walked the river path. The water ran clearer. Love doesn't excuse, she said, but it can accompany. He accepted the terms. I'll walk, he said. At your pace. She stopped him. At Justice's pace. A child rode past laughing. Time moved. She considered the weight of waiting, the risk of mercy. Episode 12 ends without certainty, she said gently. Only choice. He chose patience again. They parted at dusk, no kiss, no promise beyond tomorrow's coffee. Freedom felt heavier than prison, but truer. As she left, she turned once. The beggar was my truth, she said. The billionaire was my armor. He watched her go, loving both, owning neither. Night settled. He stood by the river, breathed, and began again, accountable, unadorned. Somewhere, she smiled, knowing love earned slowly lasts longer than love stolen quickly. The story closed not with reunion, but with aligned direction, justice first, affection possible, truth permanent. It asked the audience to wait, to sit with discomfort, to question power and tenderness together, to remember that endings are choices, not rewards. In the quiet after consequences, both learned love is not a rescue, but a disciplined practice daily, visible in repairs made when nobody applauds. She scheduled coffee for the next week. He marked it without expectation. The city continued. Accountability outlived headlines. Their story resisted romance and chose responsibility, leaving viewers unsettled, asking what they would choose if truth demanded patience instead of passion. The moral lingered unanswered. Wealth reveals character faster than poverty, but only time proves change. Episode 12 closed the circle without closing the door, trusting the audience to decide whether love, grounded in justice, deserves another beginning. It did not promise happiness. It promised honesty, effort, and consequences shared. And in that restraint, the ending found its power. The screen faded while questions remained, inviting reflection long after silence replaced sound. No epilogue followed, because accountability is ongoing and love, if it returns, must earn space. The story ended, but responsibility continued beyond the frame. That was the final truth offered. Nothing else was guaranteed. Only choice remained. Always. For everyone.